Welcome on in to the Utah Blockcast. I'm Steve Bartle, Utah Insider for KSL Sports. Joined today by the man, Keanu Tanuvasa.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Steve. How are you?
I'm good.
Happy to be back on the Blockcast.
It's been a minute.
It has.
It's been about a month.
Yeah, a little too long. A little too long for my liking, but I was the one that prolonged it, so.
No, man, you were taking care of what was important. That's all that
Very
matters.
true. Yeah.
That's all that matters here is you're focusing on what's important, and that was you, your team, your guys.
Right.
And so yeah, but we're happy to have you back.
I'm glad to be back, man. I love doing this, so happy to be here.
Yeah, man. A lot of people have really grown to appreciate, your words, and I think you've earned a lot of respect among Utah fans for, what you have to say, and then also, just your play and your commitment to your guys and to your team. It's evident in everything you do that, you give a lot to the Utes. And,
I try.
And that's what you talk about. That's what you preach.
They deserve it. It's, as much as I would love to say, I mean, it is a part of my character to give everything of where I'm at.
Yeah.
To be all in. But aside from that, they also deserve it. They work so hard as well. And I feel like I just love my team so much.
Yeah. No, it's clear. So, but yeah, we're happy to have you back. Obviously, with the podcast, coming a few days after the rivalry game, it's not the sort of podcast we would have liked to have had.
Right.
But I think this one, will shed a lot of light on how you guys are doing and what that game meant to you guys, the result. And I hope that it hits home for a lot of Utah fans, and I think that's going to be important. So let's go back to Saturday night, to the week even, in the lead up to the game. This was this your first one? Did you play in 2021?
This was my first rivalry game.
Your first rivalry game.
Right.
So how was it, man? How was the week? How was the lead up to the game? Just walk us through all of last week.
It was everything that the fans would suppose a bye week would feel like, a bye week leading into a rivalry game and then a rivalry week. All the emotions, the passion, the energy, which, might be a question for some fans or some people looking on the outside in. Like, well, Utah's, struggled with their games in the last 4 weeks. We had unfortunately had lost 4 in a row. Mm-hmm. And so will that tailor into the bye week? And that was something for me going into, I had that mindset of, I got to take my team out of that. We got to focus on this upcoming game. Yeah. Not just because it's a rivalry, but because we always want to go 1-0 that week.
Yeah.
And so with that mindset, I was able to go there and I was starting to preach, talk and be on the field and give energy. And it was reciprocated like none other. There was no drop of energy, no drop of desire to win, desire to push, even after, it'd been like 6 weeks since we'd sang, Utah man proudly.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I would constantly yell. Come on, I want to yell the Utah man song, proudly. I want to throw that water in the air, lift up the trash can again like we did at Utah State, All of these fun experiences I wanted to enjoy and have with the team. Mm-hmm. And so the week of and the week leading up to it, right, that bye week was just fueled with energy and passion and I wouldn't say anger or hatred. Mm-hmm. It's a rivalry game, but it's not like they're the worst people on the earth.
Right.
Right. It's not like they've actually done things to deserve my hate.
Yeah.
They've deserved everything to deserve my best competition.
I was curious if that's what it is, that excitement to compete.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. And the understanding of what's to come for the next year,
Yeah.
for the next 365 days.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hate you, but one of us is going to be on the side of, man, I wish I won that game. And someone else is going to be like, yeah, we got you, you know? So I'm not going to hate them for beating us, for competing against us. That's a game of rivalry. I'm going to love, and I did. That game was amazingly filled with action and competition, passion and joy. But I'm going to love the opportunity to say, to fight for the state rights, to fight for, the pride of being Utah's team.
Yeah.
Which we still are, but
yes,
that
doesn't change.
No, we still are. The University of Utah. That's never going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into game day. And, the lead up to the game on Saturday, obviously the late night kick, 8:15. It's the last big game of the day, which, there were some great games throughout the day. I don't know how much you watch college football or, in preparation for the rest of the night. But, we get to Rice-Eccles Stadium and that place was packed.
Yeah.
Before kickoff.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. For you guys, what did that mean to you to see Rice-Eccles Stadium, packed to the brim?
To have a belief and someone who is a support system that never fails, regardless of the tough season that it's been, it's special. It means something deeper than the fans really know. The fans are like, oh, we get to show up and support our favorite team. But you don't understand how far that goes for a defense, for offense, for a player individually to look up and see that there's 54,000 people that are wanting you to do your best, cheering you on, saying prayers that we win, praying that you can catch the ball properly and get a first down or make a tackle. And that's, we can feel that confidence. That added feeling is very special. And we felt that on Saturday, and oh man, it was loud.
Yeah,
and man, I was
Dude,
talking to
was
the
loud.
crowd. I loved it.
Yeah. So first half, you guys played phenomenal. First half, right? I think you gave up a field goal defensively, and offense scored 3 touchdowns, and it seemed like things were finally, happening. Things that we had been talking about in the weeks prior that. The offense had finally found a spark. The defense was playing sound. You guys did a tremendous job, limiting that BYU offense, which has been really productive all season long with Jake Retzloff and their running game with LJ Martin, that offensive line. How did you guys go into the locker room feeling about, what you did in that first half?
I had a message to the team. There's phrases that are always yelled in the locker room.
Yeah.
It's 0-0. This is a new half. Let's finish strong. All of these phrases. For me, it was I pulled the team. So we separated. We had our defensive meeting and then our offensive meeting, and then we come together before we go out. And man, I had a message for the team. It was, we're playing at an elite level.
Yeah.
Stop. Don't try to do too much. Don't do too little. Be where you are. I was like, consistency is what's going to win this game. And unfortunately, we weren't as consistent in the second half in some aspects of the game, which is what I believe led to our downfall, right? We can't blame one play, one call, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so based off of that, I think that was really just my message at halftime was, we just got to be consistent. We did play good ball in the first half. Yeah. We don't have to do more than we've been doing, and we shouldn't drop off and do less. We got to stay consistent. And that was the main theme, and do it for your brothers who are side by side.
Yeah. No, and really you guys defensively, continued to play consistently in that second half. I thought, there was a drive, touchdown drive to begin the fourth quarter. But, on the most part, you guys played really well. You were disruptive. You were creating havoc. You were making it really, really difficult for that BYU offense. And, it's unfortunate that, it came down to that final series because you guys had gotten stops the previous 2, right? Yeah. And it seemed like finally this was the breakthrough for you guys. And, for the game to end in the manner that it did, and we don't need to necessarily talk about the penalty, but I'd be curious to hear if you've got a take on it. Obviously, we'd love to hear that. But I would be more curious to hear just kind of the emotions that you feel in those final moments, in the aftermath, the immediate aftermath of the game. Just how did you guys feel, as you guys walked to the locker room and sat in the locker room?
I think I potentially might have had different feelings than some of my teammates. So I can share a little bit of the vibe of the locker room and then kind of my own personal feelings. So initially, I'll go with myself first. Initially I stayed on that field for a minute, Yeah. My mom was extremely sad when the post on one of the articles came out and it had a picture of me on the knee and all the BYU players were walking around and she was all sad and I was like, I was just, I had to take it in. I needed a moment to take a knee and realize, we lost, darn, can't say some of the words that came to my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a part of that was I felt like I gave it everything,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So when I was kneeling there, it wasn't just a complete moment of depression and sadness. It was a moment of, I can let my guard down now. I can be calm now. You know, I was so intense, so passionate. Let me give myself time to recollect myself and analyze what happened, you know? And I took a minute on the field, you know, talked to some of their coaches that I know and that I've known. And ultimately, when I went into the locker room, it was just dead silent.
Yeah.
Probably everything that Utah fans were feeling.
Yeah.
And so we were extremely quiet. Witt had words to say. He talked about it, very similar to what he said in the press conference, you know. But it was difficult. I think it's still, I'm trying to help, you know, and we're trying to flush that out. We got to get rid of it because it's not, and I was yelling this yesterday at practice. I was like, it's not November 9th anymore. You know, that game's done. BYU's done.
Yeah.
It's November 13th or yesterday, November 12th. We're practicing. We're playing Colorado. We're not playing BYU this week.
Yeah.
Can we move on? Like, be where your feet are, guys. Let's do this week. We made a goal at the beginning of the season to go 1-0 every week, and regardless of what happened the week prior. And so the mood is changing definitely, but after the game, you know, heartbreak was there.
Yeah.
That pain, that suffering, that sadness of feeling like we'd given everything.
Yeah.
And your heart's ripped out was definitely there.
Yeah, I'd be curious, Keanu, and you know, you could take this however you want to go, whichever direction you want to go. But you know, obviously the story in the aftermath of the game was Mark Harlan, you know, and his reaction and the penalty, the result of, you know, his decision. Obviously, Kyle Whittingham, you mentioned, you know, his post game comments were very similar to what he shared with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you guys to see leaders like that, a head coach, an athletic director, you know, fight for you guys in that sense? I'm sure Mark wishes he would have used different words and maybe you know, changed some of his message, but for you players to see your head coach and athletic director go to bat for you like that, what does that mean to you guys?
It means so much because it starts from the top down.
Yeah.
You know, we give everything, but we have to recognize, and that's something that I've loved learning, is it really does go from the top down. You know, I put in me and my D-line, you know, our offense, whatever the case may be, we're there for hours, early mornings, late nights.
Yeah.
But it's not just us. You go up the rankings, our training room staff is there. Our equipment managers are there. Our nutritionists are there. You know, you go even higher, our coaches are there. Mark Harlan's there. You know, our AD, all these things. And that's why our hearts are in it.
Mm-hmm.
So when things don't go our way, but we feel that we've given everything, that's where emotions come out in manners that we have to learn to control them. For me, I feel blessed to be able to be in a position that I think that moment that I took on the field allowed me to control them, to not do something, you know, that I was going to regret, to not be angry, to just sit back and say, it's done. Let's find out. Let me find out where I can grow. Let me find out where I can move on from. But it's done.
Yeah.
I think a painful thing was we all need to recognize that even though our hearts are in it, we can't allow our hearts to dictate how we act. And I think that's something that a lot of us, and me myself, still need to improve upon. That was a similar message to what Mark Harlan was saying when he came out with his apology, was I should have been better. My heart was torn out because I just came from the locker room.
Yeah.
I felt the death, the sting, and the tears. I saw them. You know, our fans, they were going through that. And some of them reacted in emotional matters that they should have been better.
Yeah.
Throwing water bottles, you know, swearing, doing whatever to their fans. I understand the competition, and our fans are bought in just as much as us.
Yeah.
They love it, and I love that they love it. But they need to be able to contain themselves as well as we do.
Yeah.
Not saying, like, in the sense that we all have to be better at containing ourselves.
Yeah. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
Right. Because, you know, when you react, you know, in the certain ways that some of us did, you know, and I say us because I'm going to include myself as a fan, you know, that it can lead to things that create issues down the road. Right. And I think that's sort of the lesson here. You know, in the aftermath, the post game, and obviously it's a rivalry. The emotions are going to be high, and I think everybody understands that. but I think you're great in the sense that to share that message, because we all do need to be better. We need to be able to take a step back, realize in the moment where we're at and what we're doing, and realize it is still just a game. It's a very emotional game. It's a very competitive
For
game.
sure.
The rivalry it's in every fabric of our living, of
Yeah.
our experience here in Utah. And yeah, it's gonna suck. But in those immediate moments, right? I think we can all do better in our reactions. So I'd be curious, Keanu, before we move on to Colorado, what do you take away? What do we learn from that game that you guys can take moving forward? Beyond controlling the emotions,
Right.
I'm talking more on the field. What have you guys learned in your assessment and analyzing of the game?
That's a good question. I think from a defensive standpoint, it's similar to what's been going on, and I think we looked at the film together. We watched it together. We watched it in our position groups as well as a unit, which is something we don't often do. But watching it in those, and we watched culture clips. So what was counterculture and we need to fix, and then what was culture clips that we want to keep doing.
Yeah.
The positivity of celebrating with our teammates, those things. Counterculture could be not giving 100% effort. And I do feel like our defense played at an elite level. I think our offense played at an elite level for that first half as well.
Right.
I don't think there was a huge drop-off, but again, I think I struggle to speak on what the offense is doing because I didn't watch the film.
Sure.
In the game, I'm focused on what I can do, how I can motivate the defense, how I can keep us focused. We have these iPads on the sideline, what more I can do. And so I can address the defensive standpoint. And for us, it's how do we do this week by week by week? Because there have been times in the past, couple games where we haven't been as good of tacklers. We haven't had as much of a dominant front. We have lacked in making sure we're following through on our fundamentals and techniques. And so it's just, okay, we know we had extra added pressure and passion and drive to win this game. How do we have that every week?
Yeah.
How do I make it so that it seems like Colorado's my rival? How do I put the same amount of effort, same amount of passion to then go out and perform at an elite level, regardless of who the opponent is?
Yeah. So obviously, Colorado this week, it's important to move on, to move forward, and to look ahead to the Buffs because they're a good squad, right? They've really come on strong, over the last month or so with Shedeur Sanders, that offense, Travis Hunter, obviously one of the top players in the country. When you look at that Colorado Buffaloes team, what are your general takeaways from that squad and the sort of challenge that they present?
I think first and foremost, I see a lot of talent. Again, they are great players, but we've played great players.
Yeah.
What helps Utah to be who Utah is we're a great family. We're a great connection, and we're a great unit together. If we can continue to stay unified and not let things of the past linger, I think we can dominate this team. I think we can win this game. They're very good, looking at their offense. They have very, again, athletic players. Mm-hmm. Their quarterback is very fat, technically sound. Receivers are phenomenal. But they're a very passing strong team. I think we were looking at the stats, and they're like a 74% pass.
Yeah.
And so for us going into this game, it's then how can we do best our coverage, and how can we put pressure on the QB while at the same time maintaining all of our responsibilities in the backfield. And so just looking at them, that's the way that I feel we'll beat them. Playing great coverage, getting after the QB, and then once again playing as a unit.
So when you go from a team that's fairly balanced, maybe slightly run heavy, to a team that is more pass centric, obviously your focus is playing to your fundamentals, playing to your techniques, right? That's your priority and job number one for you. Do you feel there are bigger adjustments? Obviously, you talked about making adjustments in coverage and that sort of thing. Are there changes, tweaks in terms of how you guys play up front that allow you to use different techniques and be more aggressive up front in getting after the quarterback?
I think so. I think we have to understand not only, again, scheme and what their percentage of run passes, but I think we have to understand what type of O-line they are,
yeah,
what type of QB that is. When we played BYU, Jake Retzlaff doesn't like to roll out. He likes to attack the middle. He's a runner, and so it was, how can we maintain pass rush lanes? Colorado style is a little different than that. It's not the same. Every QB has their own personal thing that we have to be more deliberate at, and then we look at O-line play. How do they work well together? Where do gaps open up? How can we open up? Or should this be more of an individual type of pass rush week, or should we run more games? Should we try and twist them more? And so taking that into consideration while we're watching film and then going and applying it to the field is what ultimately I feel like puts us in the best position to win the game.
Yeah, that's awesome. Obviously it's going to be a tough challenge this weekend with Colorado. They're playing good football, but you guys have played good football defensively. Offense, has come along. I thought the spark that Brandon Rose provided, on Saturday night was tremendous. It's obviously unfortunate that he suffered a season-ending injury, and so now it's regrouping around Isaac Wilson and how do you feel the team has responded? Obviously, we're getting into November and there's a lot of injuries, and injuries are piling up. How do you guys stay connected, as you said, staying unified, for these final 3 games?
I think there's one thing, a message that was shared to us, and it was, it's kind of like a parable, and I'll share it. It's, if you tell yourself you're going to go to the gym and then you never go to the gym, you're going to build up bad habits.
Yeah.
You're going to build up losses. And so you're going to build up within your mind that you don't even show up for yourself.
Yeah.
One thing that our team has done that has built super confidence and helped us to reach the level that we're at is our ability to stay consistent. We still show up on Monday and go to work. We're still going to the lifts as if we're 9-0, as if we're 10-0. We're still showing up, and that those things are only more manifest in adversity. So when the adversity of, man, B Rose's down strikes, well, guess what? We're going to wake up and do it again, because that's what we've done for the last 10 months of the year.
Yeah.
Even in the cold mornings that we don't want to wake up and go lift, we're still showing up for each other, and seeing that builds only on top of each other to the point where, we're really mad about what happened to B Rose. We hate what happened to Cam Rising. But we've faced adversity, and we've gone through it, and we're still showing up now.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to do it going forward.
Yeah. Well, man, this conversation has been great. Would love to hear a motivational message if you got one, but I know for you guys, obviously it's been a difficult season. It hasn't gone according to plan, but I know that, hard work, the work that you guys are putting in, the reward will come. It may not come this season. It may not come for 5, but it's going to come because you guys have built these habits, right? You're going to see the rewards. You're going to see the fruits of those labors. It's going to come. And obviously we would love for those results, those rewards to come this weekend. Obviously that would be great, but you guys sticking to it and staying committed to it, there is going to be a great reward for it, because that's just how the world works. That's just how life is. When you put in that work, you put in that effort, it's going to come. Yeah. So I would love to hear if you've got a motivational message.
Yeah. One of my favorite things that I just learned, Steve, this has been liberating. It's changed my mindset, man. Let me tell you, it was something that I learned in a podcast. Again, I love podcasts. I listen to our podcast.
Yes.
Mainly just Steve's
downloads.
Voice.
We got them listens.
Just Steve's voice, not mine. Mine can be annoying.
Dude, I feel the same way about my voice. I love listening to your voice, so that's crazy.
That's why we work together, right?
Yeah.
We're perfect. So in this podcast, it talked about we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems.
I've heard that somewhere.
It's phenomenal.
That's crazy.
And it referenced, at the beginning of a 100-meter race, everyone has the same goal, to win. But who wins is often the one who falls to the level of their systems. And I think that's what I'm trying to build within myself, that I think the block members, the fans of Utah and the football team that we're trying to do, it doesn't always guarantee wins. It doesn't always guarantee that your goals are immediately gratified, right? Like you said, sometimes it takes time. but it does mean that that system is only being built more and more. It's stacking days.
Yeah.
It's being refined into something that eventually becomes undeniable. You know, in relation to how I played on Saturday, a lot of people are giving me a lot of praise, you know, and again, I'm like, I'm just a man, guys, like, leave me alone, you know. It was, but ultimately,
it was light work. That's what that was. It was light work. No, I'm just kidding.
But ultimately, you know, it's the aspect of I'm not rising to the level of my goals. I'm falling to the level of what I've paid the price to become. And maybe it's, you know, to the outside eye, looking more and more towards the end of the season. But to me, my system has been there from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And that's what's defining who I'm becoming. That's what'll define any goal, you know. Anything that you want to achieve, it'll come down to how well are you performing this system that is going to give you that outcome.
Yeah.
Utah football is working on it. I invite the fans to work on it, you know, and that's something that I just learned that I'm loving to apply in my life.
Yeah, no, it's certainly something that we can all work on and you know, try to apply more and more in what we do and every little thing that we do. And so, dude, again, appreciate you so much, man. Like, you've been great, you know, on the podcast. Again, the fan base, the people that listen to this podcast really appreciate, you know, you spending your time with us, being able to share your thoughts and your feelings, your emotions with us. Because it's eye-opening to a lot of folks. Because I think, you know, we get caught into, you know, watching football and it's a sport and it's our entertainment, and we forget, like, that's a dude that's a person under there, you know, like, that's what I mean. And for you to come on and just be a human being to walk us through, you know, these games and these moments and these feelings, these emotions, all of that, I think is really, really good for the fan base, for the blockheads out there, and for everybody. So again, appreciate you, dude, and you've been great all season, and obviously we want you to continue to have success. We want the team to have success, and so hopefully that things begin to turn this weekend with Colorado. So, dude, again, appreciate you. We'll wrap this one up. For myself, Steve Bartle, for Keanu Tanuvasa, this is the Utah Blockcast, signing off.